Hi everybody, thanks for joining me today in my studio. I want to begin by first of all thanking everybody that came over from my digital channel and subscribed. I'm well over 100 subscribers now in the first couple of weeks. That's amazing. I know it's not massive in the scheme of things, but to me it is a huge deal. So thanks for everybody for that. And I want to thank the subscriber Ozdog for coming up with a cool name for the new channel. It's called Steve Elliott, Fistful of Brushes, which I thought was so apt and so cool. So that's what we're going with. Anyway, getting into the painting, this is an oil painting I did of a digital painting, painted about a year or so ago, just over a year. Really liked it. I used it as the backdrop of my videos for quite a while when I was using a green screen. So I liked it, and I thought this would be a wicked painting to do in oils. Issues that I thought I was going to have was this light area here. I've got lots of colours going off, loads and loads. I've got blues, oranges, pinks, greens, really subtle. You probably can't see them in the video, but they are there, and I did not want to get them sludgy at all. So that was the first issue. So a similar sort of thing going off with the sky as well, but with darker colours. The buildings, I wanted to absolutely make sure that I kept them as simple as possible. It was all about the shadows and the trees and the branches. So stop being tempted to put in detail and stuff like that. And the figures, I had to get them right. I had to get them in the right place, and I wanted them to go in with just one stroke of the brush. So these were the kind of things that were challenging me, and I thought I was going to have problems with. So let's get right into the painting. So this was a digital painting I did well over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, and you can see it's lots of bright colours. I actually did the tutorial saying that it was painted in Art Rage, and I was using lots of thick paint. So I didn't quite use so much thick paint. What you can see is there I'm putting a colour wash of cadmium red and yellow ochre onto that canvas, and I'm just scrubbing that in so it doesn't sort of mix in with all the other colours. And I thinned it down with a little bit of turpentine substitute, just so it was a really thin wash. I didn't put any medium in it or anything, just to stain that canvas. So I want to have a quick look at the colour palette that I'm going to be using for this painting. So as you can see, I've got Payne's Grey, Phthalo Turquoise, really strong colour, cadmium red hue, and I only use a tiny little bit of that, so I've squirted way too much paint out. I've got quinacridone magenta, and I'm using that along with phthalo turquoise to make some really nice purples. Tiny bit of cobalt blue just here and there to add a little bit of coolness to some of the blues. Some yellow ochre, which I use specifically to mix oranges with the quinacridone magenta. Some Indian yellow. Again, I use that, I was going to say again to use it in oranges, but it was more with the greens mixed with phthalo turquoise for the green colours. And then lots and lots of titanium white I used to get all these nice pastel colours. So let's get into the painting proper. It looks like I'm painting white there, but I'm not. It's a cream colour, and I am doing something I don't normally do when I'm doing digital paintings, and that's painting some of the detail, not a lot. I just wanted to get where the figures were going to be positioned and the buildings. And the reason I've done that, and I don't normally do it in digital, when you're working in digital, you can transform layers and move things about. So I didn't want to have to be painting figures, putting them in the wrong place, and then having to paint them out and re-put them in. So I just felt it would help me to get in some basic lines for the detail. And that was what you see there, is all the detail I did. I then mixed up about 4 lots of blues, mainly phthalo blue and titanium white. And some of those I had a little bit of the magenta colour to get a purple. And you might be able to see there I'm sort of varying the brushes, so some of it goes in with a little bit of purple, some of it's more blue, and then there's a lighter blue near the bottom. And I'm not worrying too much if it covers. I'm quite happy for some of that orange, a complementary colour to blue, to just shine through a little bit. I mixed the colours for the sky first because I haven't got a huge palette, and by the time I'd mix those colours up and these buildings, I hadn't got any more room on the palette to mix any more colours. So I decided to do those first, and then I went in and mixed lots of sort of much more muted colours for the ground and the foreground. You can see, so this is actually, I'd stopped the video there and then mixed some more colours up. And just starting to brush them in. And they are kind of going in at the sort of following the contour of the ground. I was sort of trying to imagine the perspective and painting those colours in appropriately. Actually, I think at this point I was still using the same colours that I've got on the palette for the sky, and it's now that's it. Now I've mixed some more muted colours for this foreground, and I'm starting to put those in. So I've got a little bit green going off there. And most of this, well, all of this so far is done with a decorator's brush that I bought a pack of, I don't know, 24 or something from Costco. Really cheap, nylon brushes. They wash out really well, beautifully. And they're great for getting on loads and loads of colour very, very quickly. Or say very, very quickly. It's not as quick as when you do it digital, I have to say. So as I was putting these colours on, what was going through my head is they are muted colours, but they're all looking a little bit flat, and I want them to pop a little bit more than that. So I start to just brush in slightly stronger tones. You can see that now. They're just going in, and I'm not brushing them out or blending them. I just want them to go on and be nice, bold colours. I felt if I start blending them, I'm going to get a little bit of mud. I don't want that. And there we can see, look, even stronger colour. I didn't like that. That was a bit too strong, so I did sort of brush that out. Adding a little bit of ochre into the foreground there. Then I'm taking a smaller brush and I'm starting to put in the buildings. So this is a mixture of magenta, the magenta colour, and yellow ochre, I believe. Or it might, no, it might be the cadmium red. I might be telling you wrong. Just putting in some lines there. I didn't like that. I changed that a bit later on. I felt it wasn't quite at a shallow enough angle. And I'm trying to keep it as loose as the original painting. Really not wanting to get any detail in. The original painting is really, really loose. And I keep sort of looking at the reference picture thinking, oh, there's a splash of colour there, splash of colour there. And I should probably, at this point, be using a slightly bigger brush. Well, I guess it's all right for that roof line. So the grey, the roof line went in with a bit of Payne's grey and a touch of the phthalo turquoise. mixed with a little bit of white to make a grey, because obviously I don't want anything too dark at this stage. I'm just still sort of getting in those mid tones at this point. A little darker for that window. I'm trying to keep as big a brush as I can to force me not to put detail in. Going in with the figures now. I'm not, I'd really like these, in the original painting, these sort of one stroke with a brush figures. And I wanted to keep that the same if I could. Not any real detail, but I think they work as figures. I'm quite happy with that. And then I'm going in with some of the tree shadows, and I start with the lightest. It's a bit, I don't know if I keep feeling I should be putting the dark colours on first and then painting over with the white colours, as opposed to painting in the light and then the dark over it. It seems I'm going contrary to what everybody else says, but they were the reason I've done it that way is they were the sort of the distant shadows, and I wanted to paint over them with darker ones. So it had to be that way around. And I'm putting the shadows in before the trees, actually. You can see I'm being quite bold, getting these lines in really fast. No messing about there. But by putting the shadows in, it's given me the base for the trees, so I know exactly where I'm going to position them. And I'm varying the colour. I'm sort of mixing the phthalo blue. All these got a little bit of white in. The magenta colour, the quinacridone magenta, a little bit of yellow ochre mixed in places, just to kind of vary up those colours. And these are where the nice purples are going in as well. And I'm not looking at the painting here, by the way. I don't feel that there's no way I'm going to replicate all of those shadows and branches and twigs on the trees exactly like the original painting. And the original painting, I didn't look at the photo or look too closely at the shadows in the photo either. So it's sort of evolving each time. The time I've done this, it'll be slightly different. So I'm not going for an exact copy of the digital painting. I'm just going to see if I can get a feel for it and reproduce something similar. And if you want to see the original painting, I'll put a link in the description below where you can go and check that one out if you've not seen it, because it was a long while ago. And even if you are following the digital channel, you may not have seen this one, although it has been on my desktop paper for a long while. And it was also when I was filming with a green screen and a background behind me, I used a blurred version of an out of focus version of this painting as a backdrop behind me. So it is one that I really, really like. So I'm just hopping all over the painting, putting in these branches. I did the same thing here with the branches, where I put the light ones in first, and then I came in with the darker ones. And now you can see I'm putting some light ones in just to make me out a liar. So far, I'm pretty pleased how it's going. I've kept the colours nice and clean. I haven't got any muddy areas in there. I am a little bit concerned about the building on the left. I think it needs a little bit of work on it. And the building on the right as well, the kind of tall, thin building, I've lost some of the detail in the right-hand side of it, which I need to go back in and work on. And those are the things that were sort of going through my head while I was popping in all of these shadows on the trees. And it is interesting that the the shadows are actually almost as strong as the tree trunks. They're not far off it. I think the actual trees and the branches are a little bit darker, but some of them, especially right below the trees, are almost as dark. Adding a few more little horizontal shadow lines there, you can see. I just wanted to sort of put some form into that path or roadside in the sort of middle distance. And here I'm starting to look at the buildings and thinking they need sharpening up just a little bit. But the dilemma is I want to keep this really loose style going. I don't want to risk going in crazy and putting in lots of detail. There I thought about putting some shadows on the building, and then I changed my mind, so painted it out a little bit. Here you can see I'm sort of sharpening up the edge of that building there and going in with the sky, and then that makes me start thinking about the sky and how I could bring a little bit more colour into that as well. So you can see that going in, and that helps me sharpen up the end of that building, which was great, and also that hedge, that distant edge. So that allowed me to do that. I just take the big brush, just sort of blend that off a little bit to make it look as though it's sort of blended in with the original sky. I think now I'm going to go in. No, I'm not. I thought I was going to go in, start adding colours to the sky. I think that's the very last thing I do. Just tweaking things slightly. Just moving sort of the base of trees, identifying where the base of the tree is compared to the shadow. When I was working on this, I have to say, I'm getting much more back into a routine, because I hadn't painted for such a long while. I was my palette was sort of muddy all the time, and I was up to my knees in paint, and I couldn't find tubes. So what I've done now, I've got some 2 pieces of glass. I've got all my colours on one side of the glass and the squirted out paint at the other. So if I run out of paint, I'm not looking for the tube. It's there. It's next to the actual colour that I've squirted out, and I can just squirt a little bit more out. And I'm mixing 4 or 5 colours at a time that I want to use, and then start painting with them. And that's made it a lot easier. You can see now I'm just sort of strengthening up the colours in the sky on the right hand side of the painting. I just wanted that to look a little bit more like the original, so I've just beefed them up a bit. And I'm not worried that like there's that purple against that blue. That's how it is in the original, so I thought I would keep that the same. Getting really close to the end now. Just sort of strengthening up the shadows on the buildings as well. Then I put a little bit of highlighting on the tree. Get them all stick out, so I must be doing something really fancy now. Yeah, I'm putting a white edge on the edge of the characters. Again, that was part of the original painting. I'm then going to mix up a little bit of colour once I've done that. For the signature, I think I'm going to sign this now. Yeah, are we? Am I going to do it? Yeah, there we go. Get it signed. That's it. Finished painting. I hope you've enjoyed this original oil painting, copying a digital painting I did a year or so ago. This is, by the way, is Derby Town Centre. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to tick the bell so you get informed of all my latest paintings. I'm hoping to be doing 1 a week, and don't forget to pop over to the digital channel and check out the original painting. So thanks for joining me again, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.